Erin Coxen, who is one of our go-to attorneys.
Hi, everyone.
We love Erin. Hi, Erin. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
We have our coffee.
Yes. Coffee in the morning.
Very needed. Yes.
To deal with clients. Just saying.
And everybody else.
I know. So this is part 2 of the property condition disclosure statement that has gone into effect, and now we actually have to work with this. So I just wanted to follow up with you and see what the attorneys came up with. I know that you were speaking to attorneys at one point, having a meeting with them and discussing this.
Yeah, it actually has been going fairly well. I think that one of the confusing things is that not everyone knows how to handle it. So the first few transactions since March 20th, when we started this, realtors had questions. Am I supposed to send it to you? Am I supposed to send it there? I think every office is treating it differently, so that's become a little confusing. But attorney to attorney, it all seems like we're on the same page, which is kind of nice. We have a rider. It's funny, I've sent a few contracts out when I'm a seller that contains a rider. That was a group effort, a bunch of us put together. And a lot of the buyer's attorneys write immediately back and say, do you mind if I steal this? So I've seen my own rider come back to me as a buyer. And really it just says everyone kind of filled this out on their own, reviewed it on their own, and is moving forward. So it's protecting everybody, all of the professionals on the transaction. But I have had realtors not know when it's applicable. It's almost like, I had one on a condo and they said, oh, we got to do the property disclosure. I said, no, it's not applicable to a condo. And she went, oh my God, I'm so mixed up by this law. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm losing my mind a little bit, Also in estate, some people think, I just had one recently, the person passed away, but they had already transferred the deed to the children. And they were thinking it was not needed because the person living there wasn't, so it was an estate and therefore not applicable. Not the case, because people who were alive owned it. So it's not in the estate.
Duly noted, if it's an estate, then
little confusing, right? Because you would think the person who lived there would be the one answering those questions, right? And now that person's deceased, so maybe it's not applicable.
They transferred the deed. Were they selling the property at that point?
They're now selling, and they put it in the children's name.
If it was still in the trust or whatever. Then
exactly. The estate or trust, it's not applicable.
Right.
So, it's been going okay, but again, we're just at the signing and closing. Let's see where we are with potential lawsuits.
Oh, right. So people are filling out this 500-page document.
500-page document, and buyers are signing it. Yeah. Right. I don't bring it up in the sense of, how do you feel about it? I don't ask clients because it
doesn't matter how they feel.
It doesn't matter how they feel, and then you teeter on the line of advice, and I don't want to advise on it, because I don't know the house. So
right, because then you'll be accountable for any advice you give to somebody, and they'll say, "Well, my attorney told me to do this and whatever," and you're like, I didn't say that.
Exactly.
Or, I didn't mean it that way. So you're smart not to say anything.
Yes, Michele, I saw an interesting thing where a real estate office is actually saying to the seller, "Please consult your attorney before completing this," and I thought, weren't no attorneys.
So so I used to do that when it was the $500 credit thing.
Yes,
I would say you have to talk to your attorney about it because they're going to cover you and say just give the $500 credit at closing.
Right.
When this was okay to
the
do.
option. Yeah.
Right. And that's when we would say that. But I wouldn't say that now to talk to your attorney about it. I'd say, listen, this is something you have to do. It's part of the law.
Right.
New York State law.
Right.
The attorney has nothing to do with that.
Yes. Right.
So why would they tell you to go to talk to your attorney?
I know, and I'll just advise all sellers now, be honest. That's the only advice I can give. It's not specific. It's almost like the inspection. It's similar to that, where a client will say, do you want me to send you my inspection report? And I say, absolutely not. how am I going to comment on this? I've never even seen the place.
They told you they were going to give you the inspection on the house that you've never gone to?
Yes.
Oh, that's classic.
And ask me what they think what they should ask for as far as repairs and stuff. And I'm thinking, listen, we all know how photography works, right?
Yes.
So the inspector's taking a picture of the boiler this close, and then he says issues, potential leak, age, whatever the case may be. What am I going to say about that? Okay,
that's what he said.
Right, absolutely. So, and we still do get that, where clients will send. I've had realtors send me, I'll send you the inspection report when it comes in.
You don't need it.
I don't want it.
The only thing you need is if there's a repair problem.
And I need that in a list of agreed upon repairs.
Right. That's the only thing that I send to you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes,
saying,
absolutely.
people, you know,
Although, if there's, I think we talked about this, if you have both sides.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
I
that's a
always
fine
say,
line. Okay.
that's a
So
fine
then I
line.
would say, listen, here's the report, just so you know,
Right.
and this is what they said they're going to repair.
Right.
Just
And
so
you
know
and I will
aware.
say,
but it's
right.
just an awareness. It's
Right.
not-
Or do you want me to go to the attorney? Because sometimes it's tricky for you in the
Right.
middle.
Yeah.
You know, people get.
Thank God you're like our saving grace. Because I'll tell you, not every attorney will do that.
But you barely take me off, the
I
offer
don't.
because you'll talk to both parties straight up, But some agents get a little nervous
but
about
still.
going to one side when they're representing the other to say this isn't working. People, get a little funky about it. So I'll say, if you need me to jump in and present to the other attorney,
Right.
I'm happy to do it so that you're not kind of in the middle.
Which is great because, like I was saying, not every attorney will do that. We can attest to that. Not every attorney will jump in and do that. A lot of times they're like, no, you're the realtor. That's your part of the job.
Right.
Which really is our part of the job. Like,
Good point.
and we don't try to throw that back on you. At least I don't.
You don't.
Because I feel like I have a job to do up to the point where I give you all the paperwork and documentation and tell you this is what the deal is and this is what I know.
Right.
And if you have any questions, obviously I'll jump in again.
Right.
But I don't put it on you to be like, okay, now you have to negotiate this. They need a credit for something.
Right.
For what? You don't even know the house.
Exactly.
You haven't even been there.
Exactly. And I can't tell you how many times a client will say to me, it's the bathroom up at the top of the stairs on the left. I'll say that to the other side, and they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about.
And you don't either.
I'm like, are we talking about the same house? Let's look at this contract
You're like,
together. What deal is this?
Which house are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's why. And I do explain to buyers, it's not that...
It's not the only... okay, people. It's not the only... what's the word? A property that you're dealing with.
Right.
It's not the only deal you have going.
Right.
Like, we do have multiple deals. Well, not everybody has multiple deals, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
the attorneys definitely have more than one job right now.
Right, for sure. But also, and they'll say, well, if you go on the listing and look at the pictures, again, photography. How many times have you looked, you're bringing your buyers, right? You find the house or they
Erin,
send you and you look and you go, well, this house looks great. And then you show up the house and you go, oh my God.
Yes.
I got to meet this photographer to do my headshots.
Oh, exactly. Check out those wrinkles.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I saw what you did with that house over there.
That is so funny. It's so true, though. I mean, even when we go to show houses, it's totally true.
Right.
Totally true. Like,
Right.
it's like, it's a dump and it looks great.
Exactly.
And people are like, wow, what is this?
Right.
So how are you supposed to know when you're not even there? And then you don't really have access to the MLS. You don't pay for that.
I do not
so
have
then you have to
access
go
to
off of like Realtor.com or something or Zillow and be
Right.
like,
And
"Let me look
pull
at the
pictures. Yeah. And usually and I don't know what the rules are here, I just find myself, I'm just speaking from when I will go on and search a property. Sometimes I can't find it, right? The pictures aren't available once it's in contract.
Well, what happens is we're supposed to, if we get an accepted offer, the MLS rule, in one key MLS where we are in northern New York City, and New York City is a part of that, we're supposed to take it temporarily off market.
Oh, okay.
So then it's supposed to come off. Although the people that syndicate to everything, like, Zillow and stuff, they sometimes just keep it still active.
I was going to say,
it's not supposed
sometimes properties are still available
Right.
and I can go on and look, and other times I'll just get the one photo.
Right.
And then there's no more there.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
sometimes the agents aren't doing their due diligence and giving more photography for their clients. They're just putting up one photo,
Oh,
which is
that's a good
terrible.
point.
If you're a seller and you need something done, you need somebody that's going to actually pay a photographer to give you a bunch of pictures. you
Right.
know, and video. And if you have somebody good,
Right.
drone, like that's what we do. You know that.
Yes.
But sometimes especially if it's like a foreclosure or something, they just put the one picture up so you don't see anything. And that's okay, but it's people want to see what the house looks like.
Right. They want to get an idea of the layout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think sometimes, we laugh about the photography, and then you pull up, it's a different house. But I do think it gives people an idea of the potential of the house
Right.
when you do have the
Of course,
photography,
there's some
where they
kind of-
clean up, an area, or you're like, okay, I could live with that. And then when you go and you say, that wasn't the picture, but the picture showed me what it could be.
Right.
So it is helpful. I don't mean to say that, we
Sometimes
shouldn't
they
have
that virtual staging. That's they do
interesting.
that. So that's sometimes what it won't look like the same either. Somebody will put a virtual stage on a photo,
okay.
like they'll have like all the stuff in the room,
Right.
and you go there and there's nothing in the room. And then you're seeing like all the scuffs on the floor and stuff, because sometimes the virtual pictures it's covering the floor or whatever, like when you go there. So
Wow.
yeah. I mean, we're supposed to note that these pictures are virtual. You're supposed to put that somewhere. It's supposed to be,
Right.
you know.
Right.
I do a disclaimer on mine if there's virtual pictures.
Yeah.
I try not to do the virtual pictures. I have an interior designer that I use, and she comes and stages properties for me. Or, I mean, I just leave it empty.
Right.
You know.
Right. Absolutely. You know, it's so interesting. I was just talking to another attorney about how, you know, when, not to sound old.
We're not old, Erin.
We're not old. But, you know, the internet kind of became the advertisement for everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't get really business cards anymore. I mean,
No.
of course,
I
we
mean,
have
I have
them, but, you know, someone asks you for one, you go, I don't even know where they are.
Text my
Exactly. Go on my Instagram, and you can
Right.
see it on there. And in the beginning, I was a little hesitant about that. Like, your whole life is online now. You're putting all your business. It's so much self-promotion. But at some point, you have to go, okay, this is the way the world is, and this is the next generation because they're growing up with it. And then look at even, you know, my little kids. Forget about it. They won't have. They don't know how to write, you know, on pen and paper.
Type everything.
And where it was like, oh, but the whole idea of like this everything being online, but there really is a lot of in person that you guys still need to do because anything can be edited online, right?
Right.
You know, so a client sees a house, although we've had clients buy sight unseen.
Oh, crazy. I know. They're crazy.
I mean, and not
They
just
have.
in COVID. COVID,
yeah.
that was big.
No, they still do it.
But not just in COVID. And you're like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, well, I FaceTimed with the, like, but even FaceTime, listen.
You can't, you miss stuff. You can't, you don't see
You don't get a full picture of what the place is like. So, I mean, it is very important that, you know, a lot of these young buyers who are like, yep, that's the house, yep, like, no, you really got to come and be present.
Well, the thing, too, about going is, I always tell people this is important. When you get in the property, first of all, you can't see where it is in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody that's driving in their car with, like, you know, this is the neighborhood. I've done that before, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Right,
You know?
right.
Especially during COVID, people were like, well, what's it look like over there? You know, and you're like, well, this is the house across the street, you know, just to
How do you
kind of
get
see.
yeah,
But how do you
need to feel it?
Right, that's
Yeah.
the point. When you walk into a property, every house has a different feeling.
Right.
Like, I know it's weird to say, but it's true. And I, like, sometimes I'll go into a house and I get like a creepy feeling, and I'm like, I don't say anything until we get out, and I'm like, look, what did you think of the house? And if they say something, I go, okay, good, let's go.
Right.
Because, you know, I didn't get a good feeling, and I don't want them to buy the house, but I can't tell them that.
Right.
But it's not, you know, I mean, people buy whatever they want.
Right. Absolutely.
But I always tell my buyers, if you get that warm home, if you can see yourself in that warm, cozy, I can see myself living here, then that's the house for you.
Right. Right.
If you don't get that, what are you doing?
What are you doing? I know.
It's like going to
You're
a
gonna
commercial
regret.
property, like, you know, going to a commercial space and saying, oh, I can live here, but it's like a commercial space, like, so.
Right.
You know.
And, you know, once you put that pen to paper, I don't care how much protection you have for your mortgage, a down payment,
Oh, yeah.
you're committed. You're committed. So
And
don't
then
come
there's
in.
litigation.
And then there's litigation.
We won't go down that road.
That's for episode 3.
Yes.
I was just going to ask you because it came up with a friend of mine. We went and looked at a house. I just went as for fun.
Yeah.
The non-truthfulness sometimes of agents, and I equate it to police officers in an interrogation room. Right? Police officers can lie to you.
Well, I can relate to that.
Okay. Yes, exactly. You can relate to that. What are the rules with if you call to look at a house and the agent says to you, oh, we have 3 offers on that? Can that be a lie?
Yes.
And that's okay?
No.
Okay.
It's not okay, but people get away with it.
Okay, because you're not following up, right? Because they're not.
Well, so
no
we
one's
have different,
checking.
Well, we have different ways. I have different ways to deal with that, right? So we have like a form that's called the escalation clause,
Okay.
right? Or like, you know, in that escalate, like, you know, say there's multiple offers, highest and best, right? They're saying we have multiple offers. There's no way to prove it. They can't. They're not obligated to show you that. But I have a clause that says, this is the offer, this is the cap, right? Like, you know, we'll go up to this, whatever, this price to this cap. But in there it says that you will prove the 3 of whatever the other offers are will be shown to the attorney, so that they know that we're not being
Oh, because you have that clause in there.
in the escalation clause.
Interesting.
So a lot of the thing that I find so funny is that when there are multiple offers, highest and best, there are some agents that say we won't accept an escalation clause. And I find the reason that they won't accept it is because they don't understand it.
Ah, okay.
So, because it is like a legal document.
Right.
I'm going to send you one so you can have it, so you can just see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But it is a legally, but, you know, like, whatever. And there's 3 different scenarios in there, like how you could do A, B, or C, right? So if your buyer wants to do it this way, or this way, and that, you're like, I'll show you that.
Okay.
But the whole point of that is to make sure that these people are not doing that. And then our MLS also has another form that says, there's another form in there. I can't remember what it is, but it's something about having to prove that you have all these offers or whatever. Like, and there's that you're proving that you're actually showing the seller your offer.
Right.
Our offer.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I mean, but people don't always use those.
Okay.
I've done it, and I think the agents get a little annoyed because I've done it. But it's not fair if they were representing the buyer, right? And you don't know if I'm lying about it, which I would never do that. I hate multiple offers. I hate people that lie about it.
And my answer always to my client when they're like, oh, apparently they have 3 backup offers. They have 3 offers already, so I have to make an offer quick. And I say, well, why aren't they taking them? Why haven't they taken any of them?
Well, that drives me crazy. Oh, can I tell you? All right. Can I just tell you something that happened to me recently?
Yes.
In Westchester County. I'm just saying. Put an offer in on a property, multiple offers.
Okay.
The sellers were going to pick one and get back to us. And so I just kept looking at other properties because, at that point, you're still doing your due diligence to try to find a property for your client.
Right. Absolutely.
So it ended up where they said they accepted an offer. It went into temporarily off market temporarily, because that's what we have to do. And then it went back to active. So I called the agent. I'm like, hey, we were a backup offer. Do they want to negotiate with us? And then they were like, well, they were looking for more closer to the listing amount. We weren't far from it, but I was like, well, why aren't they negotiating back?
Right.
And
why didn't she reach out?
Right. Right. Why wouldn't you reach out to the people?
To the backup.
Right. So she ignored it. And then what ended up happening is I got busy with the client finding them something else, and then we were looking. We still haven't found. I'm still looking for these people for something. Okay, it's been very frustrating, and they're in a high price point. It's not like they have a low budget.
Right.
So anyway, I saw it come back, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna call her and see what's going on. So I left her a voicemail, and then I emailed her. She emails me back saying that the seller's not ready. Whatever. We're just not ready for whatever yet. Like, they wouldn't come back and negotiate with us to even give us a counter to say, look, would they do this? Like, to me, that's crazy, because if you're working for the seller, you're trying to sell that as quickly as possible, right? You're trying to get the most money for that. At least come back and negotiate. Right. With whoever the backups are.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I've heard my sisters use the phrase, like if something's not okay, I'm going to check in with the backups and see, maybe they didn't find a house yet.
Well, that's what
that it would be normal.
To do.
Right.
That's what you normally would do, and like to try to obviously sell for your client.
Right.
But Erin, sometimes it's too easy to get your real estate license. And so some of these people don't follow up, or they don't have integrity to be like, well, these people actually called me or put the offers in, let me go back to them and see. Some people already found a house, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But there are people that are still looking, and they still had the buyers that wanted this house.
Right.
So anyway, I just let it go.
So it's off market.
No, listen. So it was on market, whatever. So I'm like, all right, well, that's our offer.
Right.
Come back to us or whatever. I never heard anything from her. Now I get busy again. So like maybe a month later, we're still looking properties. A month later, I just happen to look, and I see that it's sold. And it only sold $5,000 over what we originally had. And I was like, why didn't she come back to us?
Right, and come back and say, how about $5,000?
Like I'm sure we could have gotten that done. But it was just like.
It's weird to me.
I know. I can't explain it. You know how this market has been. But it's very difficult when you have agents that are not cooperating with the other brokers.
Right.
So it's frustrating.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is they don't know.
No.
They don't
know.
The
thing is, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're asking me about if they have multiple offers and they're lying. Some people are lying.
Right.
I've caught people lying before.
Right.
And I'm like, there's no way you have whatever. But, in this market, there definitely are, because there's such a small amount of inventory.
Absolutely.
In this market, yes, there definitely could be, and there definitely are. But to call them out on it,
right?
People.
Well, what was interesting is this one that I looked at. When he first made the appointment, he didn't say anything about other offers. After he looked at it and called to give feedback, that's when the agent said, there's a bunch of offers. Why wouldn't you say that the day before when you're going to look at it?
Right. They should do that, or put it in the agent remarks. We have multiple offers looking for highest and best buy, whatever.
Okay.
Or I hate the multiple offer highest and best thing. Why can't you just individually? I like to individually call them back and be like, look, this is what this is what they're countering. Can you counter back something and then see what the other people say?
Right. And when you go highest and best, you don't have to take highest.
No.
Okay.
Well,
So
a lot of times they don't even take the highest; they take the terms.
I was going to say, it all, because there's a lot that comes into highest and best.
Right.
You might be a little bit lower, but you're cash.
Right.
As opposed to a mortgage.
Right.
Or
Right.
sellers
So that
may
you
get a bad feel
right.
from something.
Something that they got. Or, but with
Something.
the cash thing, though, that's the no appraisal. You don't need an appraisal.
Right.
So people are like, oh, good, we don't have to worry about that. One less thing to do. And, so people, it depends. Like, if the people have to sell their house in order to buy something, then that's a big, like, I don't know. That's another variable. So, it's, the thing is, though, like, some clients, like these clients that I have nothing to sell in order to buy. So, like, hello, what's the problem?
Right. They're great buyers.
Right.
In that sense.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to find stuff off market, trying to get stuff from my clients, which is difficult. It's just a very difficult market right now.
It is very difficult. It's very difficult. I've spent a lot of time with clients talking about houses, and then I talk to them 3 months later because they didn't get it, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
But the realtors are smart. They're saying to their people, get an attorney already. Even though you haven't found a house yet,
Right,
and I know you'll do that so that when you are ready to make an offer, we could submit the offer. We're not waiting for you now to get an attorney, get your loan.
Get it all in
get
order.
everything together, right, so that you're ready to go.
Yeah.
But I'm finding, a lot of stops and starts.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Something fell through.
Right.
Something went wrong. They accepted it, then they rescinded it.
Yes.
We didn't even get to the point where you're getting an inspection yet. Like, they rescinded it. They took somebody else. Somebody else came in.
Right.
It's been a shady, some of it's been a little shady.
A lot of time so I'm one of those attorneys, I get a memo. If I get it at like 4:59, I won't sleep that night because contract's not out. Like
You are amazing with that.
But it's just my own control freak, and I'll drive myself crazy. But it's like the memo's there, I got to get the contract out. The memo's there, I'll send out the contract, and then there's a lot of times there's such a gap between the contract going out and signing. So I don't know what's going on, and maybe you don't think so. Maybe you're having a different experience, but as an attorney, I felt like, and also I think I'm so, coming off COVID, even though now it's been a while, it's been a couple of years, there was such the urgency, people were signing like within an hour of getting the contract out. We weren't even barely negotiating things because it was like, hurry up and sign, they're going to go with somebody else. But now I feel like it's taking much longer. I wonder if that is you're dealing with agents who don't know what they're doing. So it's a little more difficult to negotiate inspection items or, that kind of thing.
So I find there's two things that came to my head while you're talking. One is that I find that people that put the offer in and get the multiple offer bid and they went the highest or they put their neck out to get it, they get it, and then all of a sudden they sit back. Right? So we have contracts going out. You got the accepted offer. All right, let's get the attorney. We get the contracts out. And then they're like, second thoughts, buyer remorse. Is it worth what I just did? Should I have done that?
Yeah.
So that's one hesitancy. The other thing is, too, that the agents, there's a lot of agents, and they're falling off now because the market is what it is. And everybody got their real estate license in 2020 when they were sitting home. Everybody got their license. Everybody said, well, I have nothing to do, so let me go. I always wanted to dabble in real estate. Let me get my license.
It looks so fun on TV, the reality shows. Selling whatever that is, whatever that show is. Yes. Selling Orange County yeah, exactly. It looks so glamorous.
Yes.
I haven't seen you up on your ladder walking the roof of a property or pulling down electrical wires and rewiring the house. Gosh. By the way, she does all that kind of stuff.
I do something.
She does home improvement.
I do something.
They don't show that on the reality TV.
They don't say repair that, whatever.
Exactly.
But everybody got their license.
Everybody.
And we find that the people that have been in the business, like you and I, for a long time, are finding that we're doing all of the work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, we're doing all the work for both sides. And you know what? Here's the thing. I just want to get to the goal, and that's closing and making the clients happy. And I know you're the same way.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And there's always a solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always find a solution.
Always a solution.
Every time somebody says that, I go, Erin Coxen.
Please cite her.
You should probably, what's that called? Trademark that. Trademark that.
There's my motto. Put that on the side.
Yes,
always a solution.
There's always a solution. Call Erin Coxen. Actually, it's pretty good. We'll have to talk about that offline.
But no one tried to steal that? This is your disclaimer. You heard it here.
Don't steal our ideas. But anyway, and I lost track.
Realtors. A million realtors
Oh, yeah,
not getting to the closing table.
Right. So not getting. So the problem is because they don't know what they're doing, you know, they're slow to, like you were saying, all of a sudden, like there's a lack of somebody going and signing with their attorney, making an appointment, going to sign with the buyer's attorney, look at the contracts that you might have sent out as your seller. Where's the agent on the other side pushing their people along, right? So like somebody like me who's like on the selling side will be like, hello, agent so-and-so, how are you today?
Right.
When are your buyers signing the contracts?
Right.
You know, and then, you know, and I hate to be like the mother hen, but there are CRMs, you know, client management softwares that we can use that will remind you to do stuff with your clients.
Oh, okay.
Right? I have one. I don't use it fully like I should, but
you're on autopilot at this point. You've been doing
right,
it
I've been doing it for so long that it's like, okay, I just do it myself, right? You know, but I do need, you know, because, you know, growing, whatever, you do need that. But if you need help in that area to remind you, then just invest in something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you know, or use a checklist or something. So you should know, this is basic 101. So that's why you're waiting for people to be like, where's the contract?
That's interesting. That's probably what it is. That's probably what it is. And like you, like my sisters, there is a follow-up.
Right.
You know, you're very hands-on with the client.
Yes.
And my sisters are the same way.
Yes.
So there is like,
We've learned
hey,
to
did
be.
so-and-so call you? Because they said they're going to call you today because they want to come in and sign. You know, there's a lot of that coordinate. Oh, great. Let me reach out to them. I haven't heard from them yet.
Right, right.
It's helpful to move it along. And listen, we want to get you in contract. You could lose out.
Right.
You know, I have had buyers like, so we were thinking, you know, we could schedule at the end of next week. And I'm like,
too long a time, people.
you need to sign today if you want this. Especially this market.
Yes.
This market. And the worst is as you approach a Friday. And we talked about that that long ago. Like, you do not want it to go into a weekend, especially as the good weather is
and you
coming.
didn't sign? You didn't sign it
Yes.
yet? No, they're still showing that house, people.
Exactly. You want to get it to them Thursday so that they sign Friday.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
listen, sellers want to sign. They do want to get into contract because so many sellers say to me like, great, now I don't have to clean my house every single morning.
Oh, yeah, they hate it.
You know, they hate the people coming in and out, or if they have animals, got to put the dogs away, got to get them out of the house, or they work from home.
Yes.
That's probably something you face a lot. They work from home, so now they got to leave or close that door. You can't get in that room and stuff. So, you know, when a seller, when contracts are out 48 hours and they're not signed yet, a seller's like, what's the problem?
Right.
And that starts the anger.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we get the phone calls.
That starts the anger between what's
Nobody
wrong with
signed.
these people.
What's wrong? They're not interested.
Right.
I have other people.
Right. Something shady
Keep
going
showing it.
on. She keeps showing it.
Put it back
right.
on,
And then
put
they
it
get
on.
stuck on principle. Like, Fred, I don't even want to sell to them anymore. I don't care what they come back with.
Oh, please don't get me started on that. People get so offended so easily, and they're like, nope, I'm done.
Right.
Or I just had a different client that has an active property. We did overprice it a little bit, but I got somebody to come in and give an offer over what the asking price was.
Wow.
Cash.
Great.
Cash
Great.
buyer.
Cash.
Yes. But they only had a certain amount of money put down because there was another issue with them selling their house.
Okay.
So my seller wouldn't accept that, which is okay, but I was trying to explain, your first offer is usually your best offer. We've seen this. You know that.
Yeah.
It's usually and it's the quickest, like, as soon as the property's on the market, everybody's like scurrying to see what that house is. When it's on, it's a little stale. Then you're going to have to reduce the price, or you're going to have to. So I've had issues with people not listening to advice sometimes, or thinking that they know something a little bit, we could just wait it out, and then, okay, that's fine, we could wait it. And that's what we're doing, is we're waiting it out, which is fine. We're just going to remarket it, like, we do a little more digital marketing, and putting together another video, I'm going to have it sent out, stuff like that.
Right.
But still,
Like a refresh.
a refresh. But I already had somebody that was ready, willing, and able to buy it. We could have been done in the first week that I had it listed. So it's frustrating. Like, I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, what you're paying me to do. I'm doing it in the best possible, diligence that I have to do for you.
Right.
And it's so it was a little
And they're not
disheartening.
taking your advice, your experience.
Yes. And I feel like sometimes it's hurting them, and they don't see that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's an emotional thing with them.
Right.
For whatever reason they're selling something or whatever. It's an emotional thing. It's a lot to it's overbearing sometimes for their feelings and emotions, and I get that. But I'm trying to deal with it as a transaction.
Right.
Just like you are.
Right.
And we try to pull our emotions out. As much as I have empathy for you, I'm still your broker.
Right.
And I'm still trying to get you to that finish line.
Exactly.
And I've got to push you along
Right.
to that.
I can't get stuck with you.
Right.
There.
If I'm getting stuck on this, it's making it harder for me to get you to the finish line.
Yeah.
which is something that all clients need to understand. Like if your broker's not doing their due diligence for you and pushing that way, then maybe you have the wrong person. But people like us that, we do that. I know your sisters do that too. You're trying to, it's a team concerted effort.
Absolutely.
We're all trying to get you to that finish line. So
Absolutely.
the quicker the better is
Right.
what our motto kind of is. Like the quicker the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And just get into contract. We talked about that too. Like sometimes things are up in the air about how they're going to play out. Well, what if, let's get into contract.
Right.
We
And
have
we can work
protections in
everything
there. Right. Sometimes just signing, it moves things along and it takes the anxiety.
Right.
So people are thinking with clearer heads.
Yes.
They're so worked up waiting to sign the contract or waiting to be fully executed.
Yep.
Once you are fully executed, you can breathe a little bit.
Yes.
There's some time. Well, let's talk about that stuff. They get so caught up trying to want to figure out the end before they're even signed. And it's like, listen, we have 90 days, we have 60 days,
Right.
whatever the case
And it's
may
a
be.
process.
It's a process.
And you have to go from point A to point B, you have to do point A first.
Right.
Right? And if point A is not done, like it's not signing the contract, we're not going to get you to the appraisal. We're not going to get you to starting your loan process. We're not going to get you, like, hello, or the inspection. We got to move you. You have to sign the contract.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I mean, the inspection's before that, but still, and even then, when we do the inspections, how many times, like we were talking earlier, here's a laundry list of things they want done. And, they're like, well, you can just give it to the attorney when you sign the contract. No, that's my job to go to the other agent and say, listen, there's a few things on this that they're asking for. What is your seller willing to do?
Right.
Let's work it out.
Right.
We're both trying to get to the same goal. It's not me versus you. We're both trying to get to the same goal. If they could do this, maybe you could do that. Or we'll take this off and just do that. Like,
Right.
The things that are most important or safety
Absolutely.
issues. Something like that. But don't ignore us and say, no, we're just going to, we'll go to the contract and see what happens. Then it pulls you into something that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then it takes longer. People don't realize it takes longer to get to the next point because now you got the attorney involved. Now the other attorney might not be as easy as you are to talk to or as negotiable as you are, right?
Right.
So when we get all that laundry list, we're like, nope, we want this, we want it all done. And if it's not done, boom, we're done.
Right. Right.
So my client's backing out. Well, we could have compromised before we even got to you guys.
Right. Yes, and I'm telling you, this is what I do as an attorney. If the client says to me, oh, there are a couple items in the inspection report, and I'll say, did you ask your broker about that? Did they present it to the listing agent? Because I don't want to do their job, right?
It's not your job to do.
Oh, they told us to tell you. And I'll say, okay. So here's what I honestly do. All right, I'll call you guys back. I'm not going to sit here and go through a contract now, because now I'm doing the realtor shop. Right? So I'm not going to do a contract because what if they don't agree to that and that's a deal breaker?
Right.
Now I've just spent 2 hours on this. I'm not doing it.
No.
I'm not doing it. Let's make sure we have a deal first. So I'll go, and this is all I'm doing. Attorney, these are the items. Can you ask your client if they're willing to do it? That does not help the buyer by me just going, here's what they want. You have seen the issue. You can go to the listing agent and say, I was actually in the bathroom. I tried to tweak that a little bit because I thought maybe it was a loose wire. I thought maybe it just needed to be jingled.
Right.
I'm not saying all that to the other side.
No.
I'm saying my client said the following were issues with the inspection. There is no background. And that attorney that I sent it to going, I forwarded your email to my clients. I'll let you know what they say. There's no sales pitch.
And then the seller is saying, I'm not doing anything.
I'm not doing anything.
So if they don't want it, then we're done.
Exactly.
And then you're like, I just wasted my time starting this contract.
Right.
Now where are we at?
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
If the agents would just communicate with each other.
Right.
And stop trying to make it an onus of this is me versus you. It's not us against each other.
Exactly.
Like, and this is something else. I've been a broker for a while, and I've been in real estate for over 20 years. And I have never been a competitive person.
Right.
I didn't need to be, right? Because people always seem to refer me or whatever. But I'm not competitive where it's like, I'm going to get that listing or whatever. Look, if they want to work with me, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. Because maybe I wouldn't want to work with them.
Right. Exactly.
But I'm not going to go up against another agent or speak bad about another company. I refuse to do that. And so many times that I've gone in to somebody and they'll say, this just happened this week. That the guy that works for me, that worked in our company, was getting a listing. And that their buyer, their seller buyer, we have both, said to them, well, another company that's well known, whatever, they had talked to them whatever prior for something else, and then they called and they said, well, I don't know how they found out that they were using us, but they said, well, why are you using them? Because we have so many more houses, or we could have gotten you a better deal. And I was like, first of all, they don't know the deal we're giving you. Second of all, you don't know me and my company and what we do. I never ever will say that about another company ever.
Right.
As much as I might not like the other company, because I know how some of them are trained and whatever the way they work, but I will never do that.
Right.
Because my integrity is to give you and work for the client,
right,
in the best interest that I can.
Yeah.
Right. So why would I say to another person, you should have went with me instead? I would have given you a better deal. I would never do that. You don't even know what we're giving them.
Right.
You're not involved in the contract.
Just don't dog another company.
Yes.
It's bad business.
Yeah.
And the people who do that, do they not realize how it lands?
Right.
Because if I was a consumer, that would turn me off.
Well, totally. And so these consumers were very turned off by that.
Right.
And I was like, I'm sorry that even happened. Should never been said to you. Should never been brought up in that way.
Right.
Regardless, look, everybody has different personalities, right? So if I meet a client and my personality and their personality don't click, I might not want to work with them. It
exactly.
doesn't mean that they don't want to work with me. Maybe I don't want to work with them, but they don't know. Like, other agencies don't know what we offer.
Right.
You're not in my agency to see what I'm offering to my clients.
Absolutely.
And that's really none of your business.
Right.
I'm in contract with them.
Right. And you have no idea why the offer's structured the way it is.
Correct. You don't know all the scenario or what their family is or whatever's going on or why we did this way or why we maybe had to take it off the market. There's a reason for that.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly. I see sometimes, like, if I'm the buyer, I'm the bank attorney, so I get the commission invoices, and I'll see, like, a buyer's agent is getting paid %, and the listing agent only takes %, or they have, their amount is super high. And my gut reaction when I first started 100 years ago, I said to my sister, like, what is it? Because I'm trying to understand, why are they getting so much? Is it not regulated? And now we'll get into that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, you know what, Erin, you have no idea what their deal is. They may have lent them or not collected on the last one and said, well, wait till you sell this house and then we'll collect for both.
Correct.
You have no idea what their agreement is. So when you get a commission invoice, you really shouldn't analyze it, because there's so much in the background that goes into it. They might have put money up to do something, and now they're getting reimbursed for it, or work that was done, and they said, we'll wrap it into the whatever the case may be. But so I got schooled early on. I was like, it's a good point. You really don't know what other people's deals are.
No.
I don't want anyone asking about my fee. I don't want anyone saying to my client, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and not that
yes.
Someone asked me, I'm going to tell them what the fee is, but I wouldn't want another attorney discussing, hey, really? That's what she's charging you? And you see that a lot with realtors, you see that a lot with attorneys, you see a lot with loan officers.
Right.
Oh, their rates are super high, or whatever, their fees are super high. Okay. At the end of the day, you have no idea. Exactly.
So let's go, that would bring us right into the NAR settlement that we're dealing with right now. So we're not allowed, it's illegal for us to even discuss what our rates are. It's an individual basis, like you were saying. So that is something that was ingrained in us. Well, us old people, I guess. I don't know what they're teaching now, but I know when I first got my license, they were ingrained in us. It's illegal for you to discuss your commissions. Commissions are negotiable. Every person you deal with, you're dealing with them individually. So what you just said is on point to why our commissions are different and negotiable.
Right.
Because like you were saying, if I decide when I get a listing that there's work and they're old people, and I love old people. I love the older generation.
I know you do.
Okay.
Yep.
And I have empathy for them and compassion for them. And you know what? They're on a budget. They're either on Social Security, they have a pension coming in, and they have limited money coming in, whatever, right? So if I see something that needs to be repaired, and I know I can handle it myself. And it's not like, a professional, like an electrical thing or something that I'm going to cause a fire or something, or, some kind of plumbing thing where it'll make a leak. I will not do that. But I'll refer them to vendors who do that. But if I can do something for them, like repair a wall or fix the mortar on something.
Go out and get the smoke and carbon monoxide, whatever.
Right, exactly. Stuff like that they don't even know because they've been in the house for 45 years or whatever. And it was never a law to have a smoke detector in every bedroom and all that, like all the updated. So anyway, if I do that And I say, look, I'll take care of it. Just reimburse me at closing, which has happened. Or if you don't have the money, that's fine. Well, reimburse me when the sale of the property. That way you don't feel it doesn't come out of your pocket.
Right.
And at the end, this is why we're getting it. And I talk to you or whoever's, representing them, which is more than likely you. But, I will get that money at that point. But I'm not going to let my clients stress out about that. And therefore, that's why the commission's going to be a little bit different. Right? Or if it's my prerogative, which I own my own company, so I can set whatever I want, right? And I can say, listen, I've known these people for a long time. I know the family. They were referred to me. I'm going to reduce my rate for them. Whatever. If I want to give them something back, like for, as a reduction in the commission, like, just to, that's allowable. Right. So all of this to say that commissions are negotiable.
Always have been.
Always have been.
Okay.
So the media has been saying that, no more commission, the commission rate's no more 6%. It was never set at 6%.
Right.
It was
or
never,
5, right? It wasn't a set.
It was never set at that. It was like, they say it's the standard or whatever around the country. It was never really set. But when you discuss with them what you're going to do, like I came up with this thing with one of my coaches that we have a menu of options.
Okay.
So if for this percentage, this is what you get. For this percentage, this is what you get. For this percentage, this is what you get.
Okay.
Okay. So it's easier because I put the onus on the seller.
Right.
Now, if this is what you want me to do, all right, then this is all I'm doing. But you have to understand, I'm not giving you everything that's in this other percentage.
Right.
I'm not
it's
doing
like packages, like signing up for a plan for internet.
Yes.
Different offers.
Yes. It makes it easier for them to understand what I'm doing in the background.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
So, like, maybe the first one is just, look, I'm just going to throw on the MLS, and we're going to see what happens with it. You're only, I'm not going to, go crazy spending money on advertising and getting a drone and putting a video together and doing everything that I would normally do because you're only going to give me this amount of money. But that's your choice.
Right.
That's what you want. Right. Then this is what I'm doing. If you want to have a walkthrough, like, the photography walkthrough, the 3D tour thing, then that's in this package, right? But you're getting this. You know what I mean? It makes it easier for them because I'm putting money out and I'm not getting that money.
Right.
So we're putting out expenses.
Yes.
So this is what people don't understand. Like, why are you charging so much money? First of all, it takes me 3 months to get to the closing in New York State, right?
Right.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
It's around 3 months, 45 days
right.
to 90 days sometimes to close because we never know what's happening. Every deal is different.
Absolutely.
So all of that to just say that with the NAR settlement, what ended up happening was this attorney in Missouri, I think it was with these clients and they said, he's like, well, that's like a monopoly, because they're upset that they had to pay the seller had to pay the buyer's agent, and that's a monopoly. Da, 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 da. Well, I will tell you that in our contracts here in New York, it actually, and if you're a listing agent, you should be explaining this the right way, but this is the contract, and in our contract it says that you're going to get this, whatever your percentage is, you put in there,
right?
And you say that this is if you get, are you going to allow a buyer's agent, a broker agent, or a seller agent, right? So they're all 3 different things. You have to explain to them what it is.
Okay.
Right? And most of the time, we don't do the broker's agents or the seller's agents.
I was going to say that's news.
Right,
yeah.
because then we'd be accountable for what they say and do. We're not going to do
Oh, understood. Okay.
Some of that, the seller would be accountable. So we protect them and say, look, I am the one that's working in your best interest.
Right.
Whatever you tell me, my fiduciary responsibility is to you. We're just going to allow buyer brokers to come in.
Okay.
So they represent the buyer. Whatever they tell the buyer, whatever they say about your house to the buyer, you're not responsible for that.
Right.
Okay. So it's like a big thing. You have to learn all this stuff and really.
And we do put in our contract, or at least I have in mind, you're not relying on any statements from either broker or the other party.
Right.
So there's a follow up to that.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
that
Which
we're
is
putting
even
in the
better.
contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that being said, so we have the buyer. And then right there is a couple lines that say that in the event that you allow a buyer's agent, then if it's not me bringing in the buyer and we put in the multiple listing service, and because we're in the MLS,
right,
we choose to co-broke with the people so that we get more people to come and show your properties, because we don't know all these other people. If they're already working with an agent that they know, like, and trust, they're staying with them. And if you're not gonna, and what happens is, we will take a part of the commission rate that you're paying to us. We will take a part of our fee and we will pay them for bringing the buyer. You're
Right.
basically that's
So you're not paying more.
No, you're not paying
seller's
any
not
more.
paying more.
You're not paying any more. It's just we're gonna take a reduction in our fee so that you can have somebody representing you.
Right.
Okay. So if they're not explaining it that way, then they don't understand that at the closing table, there's checks that are going out that might be coming from their escrow account.
Yeah.
But it's really my fee that I agreed with. You agreed with
Right.
me.
You're just directing me as the attorney to pay a portion of it to the buyer's agent.
Right.
Okay. Now, I understand in the old days you used to pay to just the listing agent and then they would pay.
So this is the thing that drives all of us realtors crazy.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it was just everybody represented the seller. So for years, there was this big thing that it's a monopoly, that the sellers, everybody represents the seller. Who's representing the buyers? Nobody's really representing the buyers because I have one side here. Here, this is what we're selling. The buyer has no say, no whatever. It's just whatever the seller's doing. Whatever the seller says, it's like dictated to them.
Right.
Because that's kind of how it was back in the day. It was just the seller, and then you were like, oh, well, can you do this? And they would try to negotiate stuff for themselves. But they had nobody negotiating for them.
Yeah, right.
That's why we had agency that was created.
Okay.
So agency was created so that you have a buyer agent representing you, right? So then we changed how we did real estate for that.
Yep.
So this whole NAR thing, this whole lawsuit, if people understood what it really was,
Right.
the attorney's making out. The attorney's making $80 million on this. And the sellers who all wanted this class action lawsuit are making $21 each. That's it. So it doesn't matter that they paid these people.
Right.
They're settling, and the attorney's taking all your money.
Right. So all they did was basically create bad practice moving forward.
Yes, and it made us look like the villains, that we were all in cahoots with each other.
Yeah.
Like saying, well, look, we're going to set this at this rate or that rate, and it was never set to begin with.
Right.
And that we're going to make these people pay this amount of money. Look, we're doing a job just like anybody else. Attorneys you guys do your jobs too,
Absolutely.
right? There's different attorneys with different fields of law.
Right.
And they set their own rates.
Right.
And they charge you more just to talk to them.
Right.
Real estate isn't like that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, to me, the NAR settlement, I have to do a little more videos on this for people really to understand.
Big disservice to the buyers.
Because what it did is, the only thing that we settled on, and NAR, I wish NAR would have pushed a little bit better with this, had our attorneys fight a little more, but they were settling because otherwise it would have been a real mess. However, we are no longer allowed to put the percentage that the buyer's agent was going to get in the MLS.
Okay.
So now it's creating more.
But do you list yours as a listing agent? Do you put?
No, we never.
You never did.
We never did.
And you still don't.
We don't have.
So
to.
it's just
It's
doesn't
going to be
appear.
nothing in there on the
So
commission.
how does a buyer's agent know if you're paying out?
So this is how we're going to have to do it now, which is, thank you to the. So now we have to call the agent or figure out another way to. This is what we had this business meeting in one key MLS. They had the business manager meeting and owner meeting. And if you weren't able to go, you went on Zoom. So I went on the Zoom. I wasn't able to go there. And they're still working. The NAR, National Association of Realtors, is still trying to work this out, how we're going to do this. But we're not allowed to put it in the MLS. No MLS is allowed to have any commission. But we're allowed to put it on our own website. Like, so there's...
interesting.
They said we're allowed to put it on our own website. But the problem with that is now everybody has their own website, right?
Right.
Now we have to go, instead of looking in one place, we have to go searching to see if they're going to, or we just have to call the agents. Now, not every agent answers their phone, which is very frustrating. Yeah. So now it's going to be a thing where people are going to be texting, are you paying? So we're going to get a lot more when we get a listing, a lot more inquiries, a lot more phone calls, a lot more whatever, unless we figure out another way to do this that will keep us in the law, because they're not going to change that.
Right.
So we're going to have to, we're like in a pool, kind of swimming, just to see how we're going to do it.
It's very true, and I've talked to a few attorneys, and we're like, so I talked to a loan officer who I do a lot of work with, who is one of the best in the business. Mm-hmm. And he said, how do you see this playing out? Because he's thinking from a mortgage perspective for a buyer. So if a buyer's agent's charging their buyer because the listing agent's not paying out, right? They have to account for that money now. Right?
Well, not only that, the buyer might not be able to afford it.
And that was his concern, the loan officer. Like, so now I have to worry about they're going to be bringing this extra check to closing for $15,000. I'm going to have to factor that in. Can we wrap it into the loan and maybe do a seller's concession? And I said, that's a great idea, right? But, I mean, it's a great idea. But one, buyers are going to pay the interest rates on the commission? No. To pay their broker, they got to wrap that into their loan and pay it over the course of 30 years. Number one,
fair,
like
right.
Not a good decision.
No.
And this is why we had the conversation, all the pitfalls that come with it. Number two, we could wrap it in a seller's concession, but what if it doesn't appraise?
That's the problem.
So now we're already in contract. We have the buyer's agent is getting, and now it doesn't appraise. So now does the deal fall apart?
Yep.
Because they're not able to get that buyer's agent's commission in their loan amount and they don't have the extra cash. Here's the other part. Am I policing that as the attorney?
Oh, that's a good question.
How do I know? Because a buyer's agent, if the buyer's paying, because I've seen it before, because I have been in closings where the listing agent is only paying out 2%, and I've seen a buyer bring a check for 1% to their agent.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I think the most I've seen is when I'm bank, so I wouldn't be that intimately involved in the contract part, in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I was saying to a colleague, so what happens now when we get the memo? Do we need to ask who's paying those? Because I don't want to know, right?
So we don't even know this yet. We don't even know. No, there's no set anything on how we're supposed to handle this.
It is crazy.
Yes.
It is crazy. And now do I have to disclose on a closing disclosure? Does the bank have to disclose that the buyer's bringing that money?
They're going to have to, because that they want to track where every single cent goes, right?
Right.
So,
and if you're an agent, don't you want that spelled out in the contract?
yes. Yep.
Even a listing
Absolutely.
agent.
So we
I'm
make
not
sure we
paying
get
the
it.
buyer's agent, or I'm collecting from the buyer.
Correct.
So now you're going to have to put it on your memo.
Right.
So that we know
Right.
in the
How
contract.
would you know otherwise?
How would I know otherwise? But now everyone's going to have to show their cards at the memo.
Oh, well, yeah. There's nothing that, right. Yep.
You got to tell me what your agreement is with your seller.
Right.
And I thought that was private, right? That's why it was
It
never
was
on MLS.
Well, that
It
was
was supposed to
private.
be a negotiable thing, like we just talked about,
Correct.
between you and your seller, and you send me a commission invoice when I tell you there's a closing date, and I write you that check. I don't look into it any further.
Right.
Now I'm going to have it at the memo. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be clients who say to their attorneys, what have you been saying? Do you think it's a little high? Now, I would not comment on that. I stay in my lane. Try to.
Right.
I mean, unless I have to do someone else's job. Then we'll be realtors, home inspectors, whatever you need.
Right.
I could do radon tests. But now you don't think you're going to get other people that say to your client, really? You're paying that much? That seems like a lot.
Yes, they are. People say that now.
Right, exactly.
And it has nothing to do with even commissions. They're saying it for other stuff.
Right.
Like your loan fee is that much money. Why are you paying that much? What is it? What?
Exactly.
Your percentage is what on that? You're paying how much per month for that? Wow, that's high. Don't you think? They're complaining about that.
Right.
So add this to, what's that? Putting salt in the wound?
Exactly. And as I said, I don't want to know. Send me a commission invoice when it's time to close. That's between you guys, right? And also you do have, now this will be out the window, but I have a few deals. I have one going on now where there is a dispute between who's supposed to get paid as the buyer. Because somebody went from one office to another, so there's a little confusion.
Oh, yeah.
But the way it is now, it's not holding me up. You have arbitration to deal with that.
Right, but that's a real estate thing.
That's a real estate thing.
Arbitration thing.
Absolutely. And, one is not listed in the contract. So for me, I can easily stand on, you're not listed in the contract, so you have to deal with that post. I can only...
Right, it has nothing to do with the closing. The closing's still going to happen. They're just going to have to take that money and they're going to have to hold it.
Right.
And then it's going to have to go to the
arbitration.
One key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now when we're a month into contract and the buyer goes, you know what, my agent hasn't done a thing, I'm not paying her.
Oh my goodness. What do you say to that when they say that to you? Wait a minute, what agent's not doing their job? It's not me.
Hold on.
Let me get my list. It's not me.
But can't you
Please
see
note
that? Can't you see that happening?
Yes.
I've seen you at closings. You're the only agent there, and the other side says, I should have used you.
Oh, yes.
You did everything on this deal.
Yes, I know.
My agent was terrible.
Yes.
But they're listed in the contract. We're going to pay them out of the sale price. Now you have these little side agreements going on. Are we going to be able to close?
How are you even
Are you coming to do your walkthrough? If the buyer goes, I'm not paying you. You're not going to show up and do a walkthrough.
No.
How are we closing?
This is all new territory.
And not well thought out.
No, not well thought out at all.
Not well thought out.
I think that's what has everybody so frustrated.
Yes.
Because we see the problem as soon as we heard what the settlement was, we were like, what? Because NAR, National Association of Realtors, was created, and it is one of the biggest lobbies in DC, whatever. But it's all for the clients. We don't get that money. That lobby money is for the client to protect the consumers. And I think that's what people don't understand. NAR was set up in a way where it keeps us honest. It keeps us honest. Yeah. And we have a code of ethics that we have to go by. We have a code that we're supposed to follow. There's things, and believe me, there are unethical real estate agents everywhere. They are everywhere. They try to get away with stuff. They do stuff. I heard stuff this week. I was like, I just don't want to be the one to rat people out. Right. But there are people that are in this business that do things shady and not the way they're supposed to, and they can get fined, but nobody says anything, and I don't understand why. However, but that is why the code of ethics is created, and that's why NAR is here. It's to keep the agents on point to make sure they're doing the best for their clients.
But what they did really was almost create a situation where, for a lot of circumstances, it's better to have a dual agency.
Yes, and they villainized agents.
Dual agency.
They villainized us agents to say that we're doing our job wrong, or we're doing something illegal immoral. We weren't doing anything like that.
Right. But it takes a very strong and savvy agent to have both sides.
It's very difficult to do both.
A lot of agents cannot handle it.
They can't handle it.
They cannot handle it. And I understand.
Yes.
I understand. You have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to take control of the situation.
Correct.
Because sellers are going to say, what do you mean they're asking for that? What, are you representing them and not me? And vice versa. Buyers say, why are you going to, so you really have to be able to explain yourself well, have a good understanding, and not be biased. Right. And that can be difficult.
Well, you have to explain and have them sign, the agency saying I'm a dual agent, first of all, and whatever you say to me, unless it's anything that has to do with them. The only thing I really need to know is that they can afford the house, right? So whatever. And if there's something that has to be negotiated, I am the mediator.
Right.
So I will try to be like, listen, we have to come to a compromise. I want you to understand that the seller's saying this, you're saying that. I'm trying to get you both in a compromise. We have to compromise, and I'm the person to do it.
Right.
And if I can't do it, I'm going to have to go to both of your attorneys and be like, this is where we're at, and we all have to come together and see what's going to happen.
Right.
But that being said, if you're not honest and open with them, then you're going to have a huge problem. And if you can't handle that, then you can't, well, what do you do? Now what do you do? Because basically, it's forcing some of us to be dual agents.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
And, I'm a realtor. I'm listing, and I'm a broker. I have my broker's license.
Yeah.
I'm listing my parents' house. I'm not paying a buyer's agent. So a buyer's going to go, I'm just going to go to the listing agent then, right? I'm just going to go straight to her.
Right. And regardless.
Now, this is my family. What kind of representation do you think you're going to get?
People don't understand that. They think because it's family, it's the best thing. It's not always the best, first of all.
Not always the best, but if I have dual agency, and one of those people is a relative of mine.
The buyer's representation is crap. You like whatever they want. I'm sorry, this is my family.
Exactly. I might be able to spin it well, like, they're really difficult, but you don't think, it's human nature to be biased. I'm not trying to say that people are terrible and this is all what, it is human nature. You work better with certain people. People are more convincing.
Right.
There's no confidentiality here now, right? In your conversations.
Nope. Because you can go back to them and say whatever, right? Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
It's similar to me representing, like an estate where there's two executors.
Oh, brother.
Who don't get along.
Oh, yes.
But they've agreed to both use me. It's like, okay, there's no confidentiality here.
Right.
Or maybe you want to go out and get your own attorney.
Right.
Because,
it puts you in a precarious position.
It becomes difficult. I have one now where siblings, there's a lot of them selling together. Who's not talking to who and who's not talking to that. But of course, no one wants to run out and get their own attorney because they don't want to pay their own attorney. It's easier
they want you to deal with it, so you have to hear it all, and then you have to try to be the mediator of all of them and be like, okay, we need to get on one page here, people.
And I'm very good about okay, it's terrible that you feel, that this is going on for you, but let's move forward to the non-emotional part of my job, right? But the realtor, I feel like on some level, there is a part of you that does get emotional with these people, right?
Right.
You almost have to.
We have
because
to.
you're in it. You see the excitement.
Yes.
You go to the house. You
Right.
see they're excited about
get
this
to know
room. You get to really know them. You spend a lot of time
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of time in person.
Yes.
Too. So especially young first-time buyers.
Yeah, they're cute.
That we love. You know, and they're having a baby, and this is going to be the nursery, and you know, it's exciting. But now when you're on both sides, that's so, you know, it takes a strong agent.
This is the bias that we have to take all these classes for to not be, okay? So
Right.
I mean,
it's our continuing legal education on ethics.
yes,
So we have to have a
ethics.
certain amount of credits.
We have
Yeah.
ethics that we have to take every year, and they change it, and it's more and more and more. And it's like, you can't do this, you can't do the. Okay. But now you're throwing this at us. How are we not going to be biased?
It's in complete conflict.
It's totally. So it's like an oxymoron. We are living an oxymoron,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So I've had some agents say to me that they're going to lower, you know, and say they have to say to a lister or to a seller, you don't have to pay a buyer's agent, right?
Well,
I mean, do you
we have to say that. We have to say that you don't have to.
But
pay
here's
them.
what I think you should do. You should do the 5%. I'll pay the buyer's agent whatever percentage. Can you say that to them?
You can, but you have to say it like you have to approach it a little different now. Before it was, this is what I'm gonna do if they come in with a buyer. This is what we're gonna agree to give them. Okay, period. They're agreeable. The people that have the lawsuit agreed to that. They signed a contract with that. So how that's a legally binding contract. How did this even become a lawsuit?
Right.
I get fired up a little bit. There's a lot of people that get fired up over this. Anyway, now we are supposed. Well, I mean, there's lots of talk about this. This has been ongoing. Nonstop ongoing, trying to figure it out. But now we have to say, yes, you do not have to pay a buyer's agent. However, it would behoove you to pay one because all these other buyers' agents have relationships with all these other people, and they're going to bring these people to your house.
Right.
You want to have the most people in the house to get the best money for your property, and if you need to go and multiple offer highest and best, we're trying to do the best for you to get the most exposure on your home. It doesn't mean we're not exposing you online. We are. We're doing everything we can there, and it's getting syndicated to every single website there is. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we're doing extra work to lead capture and do ads, whatever we do. Like I do digital marketing, so we do all that extra stuff too. However, it behooves you to do that because it gets an incentive for somebody to want to come and bring you the buyer.
Sure.
If you don't do that, okay, that's fine. You don't have to, Mr. Seller. Mm-hmm. However, I just want you to know that you're not going to have as many showings on your property. You're not going to have as many opportunities to sell your house.
Can I, as a buyer, come to you and just say, I'm not looking for you to represent me, and I'm not paying a buyer's agent, but I want to see that house?
So yes, and people have done that.
Really?
And yes, people have done that.
And what do? You just go? You're not there to represent them?
I won't take them.
Okay.
Me personally,
You don't let them.
No, me personally.
Unaccompanied.
This is what you have to do. It's your business. It's our business. Okay.
Right.
If you went to Walmart, you wanted to pay for something, you had to pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a service, but you go to you hire a plumber, you pay the plumber.
Right.
Right. It's a service.
Right.
We're representing you a service. Okay,
yes.
And we deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
You're going to come and want me to show you a house on something I'm not going to possibly get paid on. I'm doing this stuff for free as it is in the beginning. This is where I think this all should change anyway.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to hire a buyer's agent, you got to put some money down.
Yeah.
That's just how I.
But don't you think some listing agents are going to say they're 5%, and then. Or I guess I'm so confused.
I can't talk about numbers, but just
okay. Just hypothetically speaking,
yes.
I'm selling my house. You come to me, you give your packages, or you come to me and you say, "Listen, I'm 5%. That's what I get. Doesn't matter about buyer. I'm not paying a buyer's agent. I list at 5%, right? Because you don't have to pay a buyer's agent.
No.
The seller can say, "Okay, I'll pay you 5%. I've seen what you've done. You've done a lot of work."
Right, I can charge 10,000%.
Right, 10,000%. And I'm not paying a buyer's agent.
Right.
And why would you take a buyer then? Because you're getting that money no matter what.
Right. So
it might take longer.
But then I would obviously. But see, this is the problem.
Right, but doesn't that for greedy people? They're going to go. I'll let it sit out there.
The greedy people will do that. And the thing is, too, buyers agents don't know how to digital market everything. Like they're. Okay.
Right. How do you advertise? Because people know you because you listed a house.
Right. But now you have to work and figure out how you're going to get your clients. So now you got to figure out all different ways to market yourself to say, look, I can represent you, what's your worth to me?
Right.
And this is the thing. I explain to people, I am worth what you're getting. I'm going above and beyond for you.
God.
More than you even realize.
Right.
But
More than you have to.
Right,
More
but
than
I
you
don't
have to.
tell them that because I'm not the type to toot my own horn.
No, and you would
like
do,
that.
you just, that's who you are.
Right.
That's who you are.
Right. And but you know what? I'm going to have to start speaking about that and saying, look, I'm not the average agent. This is what I do. Like your sisters. We work the same. I know they do.
Yeah.
We go above and beyond for our people.
Absolutely.
We have a team of people we already established in this industry for over 20 years.
Right.
That we work with, that we know get the job done.
Right.
If that's not worth alone my relationships with somebody like you, who knows how to get a deal done. I mean, Erin, you have pulled rabbits out of hats.
We have.
But as a team, I'm saying,
yes,
as a
absolutely.
team, we have, we've used vendors, pulled, I'm like, Erin, wait, I need somebody in this town. I don't know anybody in this town that does this.
Right.
Like an environmental person.
Right, or I'll call you and be like, who does your septic on your house where you are? Because you just said they did such a great job. We were so impressed. We got to get his card. Now we add him to the, that kind of thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
That right there is the most valuable.
So valuable.
Because you know as well that I do contractors, and I've been one.
Yeah.
And I actually had my own, in Putnam, I had my own company, my own
She brings a lot.
I had my own contractor company, believe it or not. I didn't have it for long because whatever, there were circumstances with that. I'll explain to you offline. But anyway, that value of bringing contractors, you can get some shady ones. You can get the ones that you pay up front and they never come back. Like, so us knowing people in this industry, even your sisters, like, I'd be like, hey,
Do you have someone down in Westchester? We do it all the time. My sister's looking for somebody in Dutchess.
Listen,
I'll say,
I don't want to be down there.
Right.
Look, here you go, whatever. Yeah. But the point is, we work together.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if we're not getting paid for it. We're working together. Right. Right?
Right. You're not out with a calculator going, and I put 3 hours in here, and you're getting the job done.
Right.
But now.
And you don't either.
No. But now these buyers, right, that go, well, I don't want to pay an agent, so I'll just go to the listing agent, right? I'm just going to call them up. They're listing the house.
They don't understand that.
Now that agent's going, oh, yeah, use so-and-so home inspector.
Yeah.
So-and-so septic.
Right, because it's their own person.
And I know for a fact, I've been involved where I'm like, what is this report? Really? And then oh, the sellers just had the whatever done. Here's the invoice.
That's
the
problem.
Inspector goes, really? That wasn't done. Or that wasn't done properly.
Right.
That is not what was done. Well, it was his nephew. So it's not.
That's a problem. Yes.
Yeah, it gets a little
sticky.
Right? It gets sticky. And I'm not saying it's always every agent has this bad intention.
No, but there's the opportunity for this to happen.
There's an opportunity.
There's more of an opportunity.
Exactly.
Because you don't have a professional buyer's agent who's going to stop this in the tracks and say, look, we're going to use our own people that are going to represent you and me on this transaction that are in your best interest as the buyer.
Right.
They have nothing to do with the seller. They could care less anything about the seller. Not that they don't care about the seller, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're representing you as the buyer.
Yeah.
And therefore they're trying to find out whatever they can for on what could possibly the septic problem that's here in this house. Where the other people might not, they don't care. They're just. But that's where this property disclosure statement comes in now that they have to fill out. So it kind of forces them to be honest. You're hoping. But you do have people, and I hate to say this, but they're in every business. There are shady people who will still push their own agendas and not put the client first.
Yes, absolutely. It's very common.
Yes.
It's very common. I mean, it's just my first thought with this coming into effect in July. Is that what we'll see?
July, yeah. But I don't know, because the DOJ is trying to do more stuff, so I don't know what's going to happen.
But it's like, what are they, I feel like every time there's a new way, a new law, it's to protect the consumer.
This isn't to protect the consumer.
And it harms the consumer. It harms them.
Yes, this hurts the consumer. Because then they have no representation as a buyer's agent. You're not going to pay your buyer's agent. That's the whole point. That's like getting an attorney, like you said, having one attorney do both sides.
Right. Which is very frowned upon, which you can do with the proper disclosures like you guys have, but very frowned upon. And God forbid you do that and there's an issue. The attorneys really, exactly. So they really do frown upon it for the attorney's protection.
Right.
Don't
so why
get
would
yourself
they do that? For agent protection.
Exactly. Especially when we're dealing with
taking it away.
this type of transaction.
Right. This is why we're going to start encouraging our people to, you do need a buyer's agent.
You
definitely need a buyer's agent.
Or an excellent dual agent.
Right. But you got to know who they are. You can't just have somebody
issue.
like, oh, and here's the thing that just, I know, please people don't take this the wrong way, but when your cousin just got their real estate license and they just got it and they're going to represent you as a buyer's agent, and because they're your cousin, you're using them. I get that. And I'm not, look, everybody has to start somewhere, but please, at least listen to other people. Not everybody that you use has the same experience, right? They're not at the same level. Not everybody's at the same level. Like, when somebody like you and I that have been doing this for a long time, we can do this in our sleep.
Right.
I don't even sleep sometimes with some of my deals because I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. Wait a minute, I never called I never got something. I got to call Erin tomorrow. I got to tell her what
Michele,
happened.
if you take a property in an area that you have not worked in before, you don't have a problem saying to the other agent or to the attorney, this is a newbie for me. Just any nuances in this village of whatever.
Right.
Because I don't do it a ton here. I haven't been down here in a bit.
Right.
That I can work with.
Right.
New agent says, FYI, I only just got my license. I'm sorry if I'm asking a lot of questions or just tell me if there's something I should be doing. I can work with that.
Right.
I can work with that. When you get the agent who got out last night, got their license in the mail yesterday, and they are telling people, and you try, because I will never throw an agent under the bus.
No.
I don't believe in it.
No, me
agent,
either. No,
attorney.
Me either. I would help
there's
the
no
agent.
Need for,
you would help
You would help.
You would help that.
Right. I'm going to, first of all, make sure the client's protected. We're going to get to the closing table.
Right.
If the client asks me, is this normal? I'm going to be honest in a nice way. But when you see an agent who just got their license and they are messing up the deal by not doing their job, or by stepping over, crossing lines, things like that, it is extreme. They are your worst enemy.
Yes.
As a buyer,
right?
Your worst enemy.
And I'm not trying to say anything bad about loan officers either, but we know of a deal right now that the loan officer, not with us, it's not our clients or nothing, but I know another attorney that was saying that this loan officer was getting involved and took over, and the attorney on that representing that side was stepped back and wasn't in control of it, and they're messing up the whole everything for their whole side. And I'm like, hold on, stay in your lane, people.
Yeah.
Because you have a job. We all have jobs to do, and I would never overstep what you do. Right. And you never do that for me. But when we're here to help each other, that's a totally different story.
Yep.
But like you're saying, if it's a new person and they need help, that's one thing. But what about when they go silent? You can't get them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't answer the phone. Or the seller, the listing agent, doesn't answer the phone, and you need something, and whatever. It's like, people, if you are in this business, it's a people person business. You need to be available for people. You need to answer your phone.
This is your job. Don't do it on the side.
Yes, you can't.
Really don't do it on the side. And honestly, when I saw the changes in the law, I went, maybe this will rule out some agents that are doing this on a whim. They got their license because their parents are going to sell their house.
Right.
They got their license for extra side cash. They got their license during COVID because everyone was making millions of dollars, and so they ran out and got a license. But it's it can't be a side job like that.
No, it's a full-time job.
It cannot. And by the way, I don't want emails and stuff at 9 o'clock at night, with an expectation for an answer. Email me at 9 o'clock at night. I'll read it in the morning. It's giving me an update. Right. That's fine.
Listen, even if
you can't get back to me at 9 on an answer, I need it at 3. First of all, because people, 5 o'clock.
There's deadlines for things too.
There's deadlines, and at 5 o'clock, the bank is gone mostly, or should be able to be.
And most attorneys shut down at 5 o'clock.
And rightfully so.
Right.
And
I try to shut down at a certain time.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, there are clients that I'm showing stuff to that can't come out and have to do it at night. That's one thing.
Right.
But then the conversations and stuff, I don't mind every once in a while if there's an urgency or something.
Of course.
But you can call me, and if I don't answer the phone at 8 o'clock at night, it's because maybe I'm tired and I'm watching a movie, or I'm reading a book, or reading the Bible, whatever I'm doing.
Right.
whatever.
And you don't have the headspace.
No.
You are done with work.
Yes.
Don't get me at 8 o'clock at night. I'm
and
tired.
And it's another thing where, like, if we're up, like, I'm like in the middle of the night.
I know.
I get up. If something has to be done, I'm like, I'm going on my computer just to get this done. Da, da, da. And, like, you know, like you do that. And ever since you told me, I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Send it out at 8, schedule it to go out at 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever, 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yep.
But only because we'll forget. I know myself.
Yes.
I would forget to do something.
Right.
I got to do it now. And then the type of personality that I have
Absolutely.
is I just want it to be done.
Right.
So I'll just get on the computer and do whatever I got to do. But I didn't know. Like, because then people, like you said, respond at 10:30 at night because I'm up, or 11 o'clock in the, 12 o'clock. And I didn't know people are up doing work, and I'm working. But it's just a fluke thing. I'm not doing it every night.
Yeah.
But I don't want a response and a conversation with you.
Right.
At that time.
Absolutely.
So it's a respect thing. And I think that's where as professionals, and we have created boundaries.
Yes,
and you have to with your clients. You have to create boundaries. But this is the problem that we're having now with having this new buyers thing. Where are the boundaries going to be?
They're non-existent. Non-existent. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And now back to, on the attorney perspective, now I'm like looking over your shoulder. What are you charging? Who's paying that? Are you going to, should it be in the memo? Or now if it's wrapped into a seller's concession, we're kind of involved in it. Now what if the buyer doesn't say, it's a lot more.
It's a lot.
They
don't have answers for us yet.
Right.
They don't have answers.
Right. And you better have communication with your realtor.
That's a problem. Well, a lot of people don't like to communicate with attorneys. I don't get it. I don't get it.
But that's my
I'm not
point.
just handing off the paperwork to you. I am not that person.
Right.
I'm not handing you paperwork and saying, here's our deal. This is it. I got to go now. Bye. I'm going on to the next thing.
Right.
No. I want to know, hey, do you need help with anything? What's happening? Is there a problem with the file? What's going on?
Look at our deal right now that you're running around like a lunatic on.
But I don't mind doing it.
No, you don't. I know. You're like, I'm going to go.
mind.
I'm going to pick up the original. I'm going to drop it off. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to the managing agent. I'm going to go to get it done.
And it doesn't matter if it's in a different county. I'm going there.
Right.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring it up to another county.
And this attorney's great on the other side.
Yes.
She's all for it.
Yes.
But can you imagine an attorney was like, listen, not responding to you?
Right.
We'll take it from here.
Right.
You'd be sitting there like, oh my God.
Well, that's the problem. Some of the attorneys, and I'm not saying this to be critical, but some of the attorneys give it to the paralegals, and then we don't get any answers. And I'm like, I'm trying to push and get the hold of somebody,
Right.
and I'm getting no response.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right. And in the defense of the paralegal, they don't want to answer you.
No.
They're not making a decision.
They don't make the decision. It's the attorney,
Right.
and they can't do anything. And I believe me, I have there's some people that have great paralegals. And,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But again, it all comes down to working in a team.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have to, now we're just so you people know, we're just trying to figure this all out ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like a quandary, and we're going to get through it.
Yeah. No, and we said, let's just film. Let's just do our next episode and throw stuff out there, because as we started to talk today, I mean, we've had a million conversations about this,
Yes.
right? Hours and hours and
More
hours.
stuff came out.
More stuff came out.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, wait a minute, how is it going to affect?
Yeah.
I just had a
Like
deal
the loan
yesterday.
officer
What if we
thing.
add that?
Yeah.
Like the loan officer
I wouldn't have
thing.
thought of that.
Right? Yes.
Right.
But he's that good that as soon as he got caught wind of it, he was like, all right, how am I going to play this out with buyers?
Which is awesome.
How am I going to advise buyers?
Yeah.
So should I wrap it into the loan amount? Should I qualify them, right? Should I pre-approve them
how do you qualify
with
them?
that amount?
Right. Now you're not going to be able to qualify them if they have to have a certain amount. And how do you know the amount anyway? Because the house that they're going to get, how do you know what that amount's going to be?
Right. And if you're buying a $300,000 house, the buyer's agent's commission could be small.
Right.
Right? Not big.
Right.
If you're buying a 1.2,
Right. That's a big commission.
and buyers paying that's a lot of money.
That might kick them out of getting the loan if they have to pay that extra money. This is the problem.
And how does he pre-approve?
And
Does
wait
he
a minute.
pre-approve with buyer paying? Because they have to have that money, or
they
they're
have to
getting
have
denied
it.
the mortgage.
They're going to have it in there something, right? Yeah, it's a slippery slope. But what about VA people?
Oh my gosh.
They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to pay for their own. They're not allowed to pay for their own fee.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that.
So you're actually hurting our veterans.
Our veterans.
I mean, there's a whole thing with that. Like, you know how that all works. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
And not every VA loan is the same.
Right.
We should say that too. Sometimes I look at it and say, this was helping the veteran.
I know. Right. Right. I know. That's not helping them.
The one I just closed yesterday was the exact same terms. The veteran's paying a lot more money. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not helping them either.
That's not helping them either.
That's another video.
That's an interesting item there.
People don't think about that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions about
We have
anything,
no answers.
but you can put the questions down below. We'll definitely try to.
Or weigh in.
Yeah,
Right?
weigh in
Give
on
us
it.
some ideas. I think there's, it's kind of like the property disclosure where our last episode where we said we have no idea how it's going to play out.
Right.
So we're going to try to be creative here.
Right.
Maybe someone out there has an interesting thought on it.
Weigh in on what you think is happening. Even if you're a real estate agent, and you see this,
Yeah.
or an attorney, we would love to hear from you too.
Absolutely.
Like and share, follow, and we will be back with more info from Erin Coxen and Michele Marina.
Thanks
Have
for
a great day.
listening.
Bye.